My name is Henry Adams. Most people in this city know me as a businessman, a man of success, a man with money. But that was not always who I was. And even now, when I look back, I don't see the money or the buildings with my name on them. I see something else. I see the path that honesty built. And I see the young man who reminded me why that path matters. I grew up in a poor home, the son of a factory worker. We didn't have much, sometimes not even enough to eat. But my father drilled one thing into me, day after day. Henry, if you have nothing else, be honest. Your word must be worth something. At the time, I didn't understand why it mattered so much. But then I saw the world. I saw men who lied to get ahead. I saw neighbors borrow money and never pay it back. I saw workers pretend to be sick just to skip a shift. And one day, I saw a man lose everything because of a single lie. That moment stayed with me. It was a simple thing. He lied to cover a mistake at work. He thought no one would notice, but they did. And that lie cost him his job, his reputation, and soon after, his family's home. I decided then, no matter what temptations came, I would never trade truth for comfort. I would never let lies become my ladder. Life wasn't easy. I worked hard, saved every coin I could, and slowly began building a small trading business. But more important than any deal was my reputation. People learned that when Henry Adams gave his word, it meant something. If I promised to deliver, I delivered. If I made a mistake, I admitted it and made it right. It wasn't the fastest way to wealth, but it was the surest way to peace. And then there was Mary. Mary. She was light in a dark world, joy in a life of labor. She didn't marry me for riches. I had none at the time. She married me for the man I was trying to be. She couldn't bear children, and while that broke her heart at first, she poured her love into me, and later into the workers we treated like family. Mary's gentle voice was the compass that kept me steady. She reminded me that success wasn't measured by coins in the pocket, but by lives lifted up along the way. Together we built not just a business, but a reputation people could trust. Years passed and our little trading venture grew. More ships, more clients, more responsibilities. But even as wealth flowed in, we lived simply. Mary decorated our modest home with flowers, always fresh, always cheerful. We laughed often, we prayed often, and we kept our door open to anyone who needed a meal or advice. Then one day, time reminded me it is no respecter of love. Mary grew ill. Despite doctors, despite prayers, she grew weaker, until finally I was left alone. The house that had always been filled with warmth suddenly echoed with silence. The flowers on the windowsill seemed to wilt faster without her hands to tend them. For the first time I questioned why honesty, why work, why life itself mattered. I carried on, but my steps were heavy, my days long, and my nights unbearable. And then, on one of those nights, heavy with grief, I met Samuel. It was a date I could never forget, Mary's birthday. I had going to her grave that morning, placed lilacs there, and whispered that I still missed her every day. That afternoon, as I walked home, a young man approached me about work. His name was Samuel. He was poor, a driver by trade, with no fine clothes and no polished speech, but when he spoke, his eyes were clear, honest, and something inside me stirred. It was as though God Himself had placed this young man in my path on that day to remind me that life still held purpose. I gave him a chance, just small tasks at first, but he never disappointed me. If he was late, he admitted it and explained. If he made an error, he corrected it without excuse. Each act of honesty, each quiet moment of reliability began to heal something in me. I saw in him the values Mary and I had always believed in. He reminded me of myself when I was young, only this time I had the chance to guide him further than I had ever gone alone. Months turned into years. Samuel earned more trust, more responsibility. I tested him with money, with contracts, with opportunities to cheat, and each time he chose the harder road, the road of integrity. And so I gave him more. A shipment deal, then a small branch of the business, then larger decisions, and Samuel never failed. It was during these years that my grief began to fade into something else, gratitude. Samuel wasn't my son by blood, but he was my son in spirit. Through him, I felt Mary's presence again, her belief in the good of people, her insistence that love and honesty were never wasted. But time comes for all men, even those with wealth and success. One evening, I sat at my desk and signed the final papers. Everything I had built, the ships, the trade routes, the warehouses, it would all go to Samuel.
If you enjoyed this lesson, click here for another learning video.